All right, now let us now begin our class in today's Chumash portion, Moses and the burning bush. Today's chitat also. Moshe was tending the sheep, shepherding the sheep of Yisro, his father-in-law, who was the Kohen Midian, who was the chief priest, the high man of Midian. Now, we learned previously, I don't know if this got recorded yesterday or not. I think it did. We've been having troubles. In any case, Yitro already had his doubts about idolatry. And even though he was like the chief idolater of the world, he was like the pope of all the idolatry, but he started saying, listen, maybe this whole thing is a mistake. He's worshiping these gods, and they evicted him. They kicked him out. So came along Moshe, and Moshe happened to find this Yisro in exile, and with his sheep and with all of his daughters, tending the sheep. So Moshe helped, and eventually he gave him Tzipporah, his daughter, to get married. And now Moshe is tending the sheep of his father-in-law. His chosen means his father-in-law. And he brought the sheep in like behind the desert to the mountain of God. All right, first of all, Rashi says, why did he take him behind the desert? In order to keep away from thievery. They shouldn't be in other people's fields. And also he took him where? To the mountain of God, Choreva. Now Choreva happens to be another name for Mount Sinai. And it's called the mountain of God. Why? It wasn't a holy place. There was absolutely nothing to do. Mount Sinai is not holy, not before the Torah, giving of the Torah, not after the giving of the Torah. Why is it called the mountain of God? It says Al Shem Atid, because what was going to be in the future. Here we have an interesting thing. It says the Evan Ezra. Evan Ezra, it says, why is it called Chareva? The mountain is called Chorev. It says, Kacha Katav Moshe. This is what Moshe wrote, that it was called the mountain of God, Choreva. The reason it's called Choreva, because it's always hot there. It's like in the desert. There is no rain because it's near to Egypt. And in Egypt, there's no rain. They get their everything from the river, the Nile River. Derek Shlosh Shamim, he went 3 days away from Egypt. And because the river is far away, therefore there's no liquid over there. And it's all dry, and therefore no one else went there to graze their sheep. And that's why he went there. This is the Kli Yakar also points this out. And he says, the Meforshim say, because shepherds usually are puzzle. Shepherds are usually not, they are disqualified for giving testimony. Why? Because usually they're thieves. They graze their animals in other people's places, other people's sadot. So they're chashurim ala gezel. Therefore, they are all suspected thieves. Therefore, Moshe said, these sheep, that they belong to Yitro, they're not mine. And a person usually does not do any sins with things that he has nothing to benefit from. So therefore, he took the sheep of Yitro. So it says, but nevertheless, you didn't have to tell him that he went out there to be a shepherd, because most prophets come to their level of prophecy by means of being shepherds, because prophecy requires quiet and seclusion. Hitbodedut, to be alone, seclusion. But al yadei, by means of that, by means of by means of that he sees the heavens and the deeds of God, like it says, when I see your heavens, the work of your hands, then by the means of this, all of his thoughts will be removed from the world, connected to God, until there falls upon him the Spirit of God, which is not so common in a settled place. Therefore, shepherds usually go, and that's why it says that all the shepherds all the forefathers were all shepherds except for Joseph. Here we have also the opinion of the Ramban. Here's the Ramban. Oh, okay. Vayar Malach Hashem, all of a sudden, so Moshe's there calm, he's quiet and he's tending the sheep. All of a sudden, he sees an angel of God in a tongue of fire in a bush. Now, a sneh is usually a type of bush that has all sorts of thorns on it. But one thing for sure, it doesn't have any fruits or berries or anything. But Yarni saw, and Yosef and Moshe saw that this sneh was burning in fire, and this sneh is not being consumed. Is not being consumed at all. Rashi says, what does it mean, belavat in a tongue of fire? It says, he says, belavat eid, lahava means a tongue, like a thing of fire. But it also means, it says, belibo shalesh, in the heart of the fire. Like the leva shemaim, right in the middle of the fire. And he says, in the betocha sneh, it says, there was fire in mito, from inside of this bush. It says, why a sneh from a bush, not no other fruit tree, because imo anichi b'tzora. It's coming to show, and the different Meforshim are trying to figure out what exactly Rashi means with this. But he says that God says that I am with you even in difficulties. In other words, no matter how low the Jewish people can go, and even if they're flaming on fire, nevertheless, the angel of God is still with them. It says, nevertheless, it's not consumed. This is not consumed. Here's an interesting one from Sforno. It says, where is this? There. Says that an angel of God appeared to him. He saw it in a vision of prophecy. Usually when angels are revealed in the form of man without prophecy, and if angels appear, they usually appear in the form of man, unless it's prophecy, then they see that it's an angel. Like it says with Avram and Lot and Bilam, it looked like a person. It doesn't say Vayar, it doesn't say Vayera, that it was appeared, El Vayar, they saw. He saw three people. Vayar, Lot, and Yar, he saw. And he saw he saw the angel of God standing in the way. It was like a big man. He saw him. So in other words, usually, but when they would see an angel, would be in form of a man. Here, when Moshe saw, it was in the form of an angel. Now, this doesn't really make much sense because an angel, it says, is about 1/3 as big as the world. So exactly what Moshe did see, right? He said he saw it in it says, what does it say? Vayera, it appeared to him. In other words, he didn't really see it in a normal way. It just would appear to him from above. Okay, let's look at the Ramban. The Ramban has a very interesting one here. And he says, Al derech emet, according to Kabbalah, this angel was the angel of redemption. Like it says, my name is within the angel. We're going to see later on. And this is the same angel that said, I am the God of Beit El. And it says, Elohim. But this was sometimes there's an angel. This is the aspect of this angel which is dealing with the world. And also it says Hashem will take us out of Egypt. And it says that Yishlach Malach, God sent an angel to take us out of Egypt. It's the same angel. And it says the Malach, it says in Bamidbar, the Malach said, it says also that a Malach, an angel, before him to save him in Isaiah, prophecy Isaiah. In other words, this is the same angel that is the face of God, the appearance of God. Like it says, Pana yelechu v'hani chosi lach. Like it says later on, we'll see, and my face will go with you, said God. This is what it says also. We can understand from the sentences. The pitom yavo el heichalo ha'adon asher atem mevakshim u'malach habrit, the angel of the covenant will desire them, etc. in the prophet. Okay, so this is the same angel, which is the angel of redemption, which appeared to Yaakov and announced them that they're going to be redeemed. This is the same angel that appeared to all of them. Here it says a very interesting thing in the Kli Yakar. It says this angel, there's a lot of opinions. Some people say that it was Imo Anechi B'Tzora. Therefore, he revealed himself in a low tree. According to Rashi, he said he doesn't like the explanation of Rashi. It says like this: this low tree, this hints at the servitude and the suffering of the Jewish people. That's the fire that was there. It's a fire that is always surrounding the Jews and making them suffer, but it does not devour them. And that's how he explains it. There's a very interesting thing by the Baal Shem Tov, this is one of the first Torahs of the Baal Shem Tov, said, what did Moshe see? He saw a bush. The bush is a tree that has no fruits on it, and that it's burning up and it's not devoured. And he said, this bush represents the simple Jews, that they're even they haven't got any time, or they haven't got enough intellect or whatever to learn Torah, and they barely do the commandments, but they have a burning fire inside of them for the truth and for God. And this truth cannot be devoured. The fire never stops. It says the fire will never stop, right? There's a burning in the fire, and the fire continues with the bush, and it never stops. And there's these simple people, they have an enthusiasm for God that will never stop. And therefore Moshe said, wow, this is amazing. I didn't know there was such a thing in even the most simple of Jews. I thought that God just sort of chose the Jews, and that, that's it. He just made his choice. But I didn't know the Jews reciprocated, even Jews that have absolutely nothing, no reason to serve God whatsoever. They do. He said, I have to turn off of my normal way, change my ways and see. So Moshe said, I will turn and I will see this vision. And why this sneh is not burning up? Why isn't it being devoured? And God said, when God saw that Moshe turned off, then he called him from the sneh. So first there was an angel, and now it's God from within the angel, what is in the sneh, and he said, Moshe, Moshe. And Moshe said, here I am, I'm ready. Now it's an interesting thing. When God called to Abraham, he said, Avraham, when he said, take your son, there's a line between them. When Moshe, there's no line. This indicates that God's connection with Moshe was much more direct than it was with, here he says, God spoke to him. He said, here I am. As soon as God called him, he said, here I am. Now, there's an interesting story if you ever read the book of Shmuel Aleph, the birth of Shmuel. So it says that Hannah prayed that she would get pregnant, she would have a child, and she had a child, Shmuel, and she gave him to the Holy Temple, brought him to the Holy Temple, like when he was 3 years old or something, and that was it. And she left him there. And it said that Shmuel was laying down there sleeping, and all of a sudden he heard someone call him. And he said, Shmuel, Shmuel, and he ran over, and he thought that it was the high priest, Eli. So he ran over and said, yes, did you want me? He said, no, you must have been dreaming. So I went back to sleep, and it was a few times, the same thing happened, until Shmuel said, wow, I realized this must be God calling me. So here, by Moshe, it wasn't the same thing. it wasn't like Moshe. Immediately, Shmuel, it took him a few times to recognize, not like Shmuel that he didn't recognize that God was calling him, because Moshe was really a prophet even before he came from the womb. His mother, the womb of his mother, and he recognized automatically who was calling to him. This is the Or HaChaim HaKadosh says. And maybe that says, Amara Gadol, this amazing vision. This is the greatness, he saw godliness there, the greatness of Hashem. When God saw that Moshe turned away, it says, yeah, God saw, Litbonen, to think about it, so he called him to let him know, like it said, Bola Taher Messiah Moto. When God saw that Moshe was trying to figure out what was happening, he wanted to come close to God, so then God called to him. It says, that's what it says, a person that tries to refine himself, is God helps him. Like it says, Moshe went up to God on the mountain, Mount Sinai, and then God called him from the mountain. So in other words, you have to do something from below, and then God will do something. Of course, God was the first one. He came into the bush and revealed himself in this bush, etc. So Moshe saw, it was an incredible thing. And as soon as he saw, wow, this is what godliness is, this is amazing. So he started to come close, and then God even came closer to him. And God said like this, don't come too close. Take your shoes off your feet, because the place where you're standing is holy land. It was holy land. Shall, the word means take off. It's holy. What's it means? Admaskot, the makom, the place is holy. The place where you're standing is holy. After this revelation, it wasn't holy anymore. But it will be holy when God gives the Torah on it. But then it also stopped being holy, like I said before. So it says, don't come near. Why did God say not near? I mean, later on, we're going to see that when God gave the Torah, not only did Moshe go near, he went up on Mount Sinai, talked to God for 40 days, right? 40 days. So now all of a sudden he can't come near. Why can't he come near now? It's the same mountain. This is the mountain, Mount Sinai. This is where this whole burning bush was. So the Ramban explains, why did God say don't come near? Because Moshe, true, he was a prophet, but he didn't reach yet to the greatest levels of prophecy. Because at Mount Sinai, Moshe went into the cloud that there was pure godliness, like going into the Holy of Holies. And also in there that Moshe had to hide his face, right? He didn't get to what it says afterwards, Tamunat Hashem Yabit. It says that he could see the image of God. It says here, God said to Moshe, I am the God, I am the God of your fathers, the God of Avram, the God of Yitzchak, the God of Yaakov. And Moshe covered his face. That's what he was saying before. Why did he cover his face? Because he was afraid to look at godliness. When he was on Mount Sinai, he didn't, because he was raising up in levels of prophecy. To the point, the Rambam says, Maimonides says that Moses was the ultimate prophet. He was the only one that didn't fall down when he got his prophecy. God said, I've seen the poverty of my people that are in Egypt. Their cries I have heard because of their torture, those who torture them. And I know their pain. What does it mean, I know? It says, Samti lev, I have put my heart, God said, I put my attention to contemplate and know the pain of the Jewish people. And God says, Vayomer Hashem here. Why does it say Vayomer Hashem? Before, when it appeared, it says Elokim. Elokei Avicha, right? Elokim, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei. All of a sudden, he says the name Yudke Vavke. This is the name of mercy, and that's what the Ramban says. Where am I going? Oh, here it is. Says Zachrenu Mirat Rachamim. He mentioned Yazkirenu. I'm sorry. He mentioned the name of mercy, I'm having mercy on them. Even though that all the rest of the time he's talking about Elohim, also when God gave the Torah, it says it's from the name Elohim, the name of Elohim. In the first of the 10 Commandments, Vayomer Elohim et kol hadavarim elu. It says Elohim, right before the 10 Commandments. Vayomer Elohim says that's the aspect of God's power and his severity. It's a beautiful Orach Chaim here, but we don't have time to do it. I will come down to save the Jews from Egypt. I will raise him up. Latzilo. I will say, this is in a lot of times God refers to the Jewish people as one person. Like it says, my son, my firstborn. It doesn't say my sons, my firstborns. So sometimes God refers to the Jews as one person. And here's another example. I will come down to save him from Egypt and to bring him up from that land to the good, wide land, a land that is flowing milk and honey, to the place of the Canaani, of the Chiti, and Moria Prizi, of Yavosi, of Agoshi. Here it says that he's only promising him not all the lands. God only gave to the Jews that went into Israel, he gave them only 7 lands when he promised to Abraham 10. This is the other 3 the Mashiach is going to acquire, which should be now. If it happens right now, it's already a couple thousand years late. Not a couple thousand years, 1,800 years late. That's one of the reasons he says because of the fire. Why did he put in fire? Because God wants to show that he's powerful enough and he's going to take the Jews out of Egypt. Taking the Jews out of Egypt is the first, like we said, of the 10 Commandments. I am God that took you out of Egypt. So taking the Jews out of Egypt is the basis of Judaism. Now God is continuing, speaking to Moshe. It's a long speech that God is making to Moshe. Moshe is standing there, right, listening to God, no shoes on. Behold, the cries of the Jewish people have come to me, and I have seen the pressure that the Egyptians are pressuring them. And now I will send you to Paro. You're going to take the Jews out of Egypt. And Moshe said, 1 minute. Who am I that I'm going to go to Paro and I'm going to take the Jews out of Egypt? Maybe you got the wrong shepherd over here, God. I mean, I can't do it. God said, don't worry, I will be with you. And this is the sign that I'm going to be with you, that I sent you. What from Egypt? You're going to serve me on this mountain. And Rashi says 2 meanings over here. One meaning is that, okay, Moshe said 2 things. First of all, what did Moshe say? Who am I to take you out of Egypt? Who am I that I'm going to be the one to go to Paro? And number 2 question is, I'm going to take the Jews out of Egypt. And there was 2 things which are impossible for me, said Moshe. I can't go to Paro. And the other one is I'm going to take all the Jews out of Egypt. Who am I? I'm just one little person. I'm nothing. I'm a shepherd. The Jews have been there for hundreds of years, right? 210 years in servitude. I'm going to take them out. So it says, God answered the first question first and the second question second. God said, first of all, I'm going to be with you. And second of all, what's the merit you're going to get out of Egypt? You're going to serve God on this mountain. So he said, Rashi says, he answered the first question first and the last one last. When Moshe said, who am I that I'm going to go to Paro? So God answered him, don't worry about it. You're not going. I'm going. You belong to me. I'm going to be with you. And that's what you saw in the burning bush. Right? That's the sign that I'm sending you. And you're going to succeed. And in order that I'm going to save you. Just like you saw this bush doing what I told it to do, to burn up, and you saw that the bush was not harmed. It's the same thing. You're going to go into Egypt, the worst place in the world, most dangerous place, but it's nowhere near as dangerous as lighting a little bush on fire. That should finish in just a minute. It says, don't worry, the bush lasted and it's still burning right now. God is still talking to him from the bush, and you're going to go and you won't be harmed. And then you asked the second question, what merit is it that you're going to take the Jews out of Egypt? So God said, Davar Gadol Yeshli, I have a big answer to answer you. Because in the future, you're going to receive the Torah on this mountain. The Torah is waiting for you. The Torah is waiting for you. And the whole purpose of the world was to give the Torah to the Jewish people. And this is going to happen. I have to take the Jews out of Egypt to get the Torah. It's no big thing. The Torah has been waiting. The power of the Egyptians are being created from the Torah. Don't worry, the Torah is the boss over the world. You're going to get the Torah in the end of 3 months. Shiatzumi Mitzrayim. It wasn't exactly 3 months. It was 50 days, but it was 10 days from the first month, and then 10 days from the last month, a little bit less, and then the whole entire middle month. Another opinion says, what does it mean? I'm going to be with you. What? And you're going to succeed. Why? Because this is the sign. What's the sign? Is the sign. The reason you're going to succeed is because I'm making another promise. What's the other promise? When you go out of Egypt, you're going to serve me on this mountain. You're going to receive the Torah. And the fact that you're going to receive the Torah, this is the merit that's standing for the Jewish people. In other words, it's not just a sign that I'm telling you that it's going to happen according to the history books, right? True, you haven't seen the history books yet, Moshe, but I'm God, and I know what the future is going to be. I'm telling you, you're going to serve God, and you're going to get the Torah here. Another one is that the fact that you're going to get the Torah, that is a big merit to the Jewish people. And with this merit, even though you haven't gotten the Torah yet, but the promise is from God is like it's already happened. So therefore, for sure, you're going to get the Torah. That's what it's going to be. This sign is going to be the fact that you're on this mountain, the same mountain you're going to receive the Torah. Is the Torah, receiving the Torah is the merit that you have, which will take all the Jews out of Egypt. What does Moshe say? Moshe says, listen, I'm going to go to the Jewish people and I'm going to tell them what you just told me. And they're going to say, the God of your fathers told me, and they're all going to say, one second, what is the name of this God? What am I going to tell them? So God says, tell them, I will be that which I will be. And this is what you say to the Jewish people. I will be sent you to them. That's God's name, Ehyeh. So Rashi says like this, what does it mean, Ehyeh? I am with them in this problem. I will be with them in this, and I will be with them in all of the other exiles they're going to be in. This is not the first exile, Moshe. I'm going to be with them in all the exiles. There's going to be an exile in Babylon, and there's going to be exile in Greece, and there's going to be exile in Rome. Moshe said, listen, God, what am I telling them that there's going to be more problems? It's enough with the problem they have now, they can't take it. God said, you know what, you're right. Don't tell them this name. Tell them a different name. Vayomer, and he said, Od Elokim to Moshe, this is what you should say to the Jewish people. Yud Ke Vav Ke, the name of God, right? The Elokei Avotechem, the Father, God of your father. Now, really, the name Aleph, when it starts with Aleph, Aleph, Hey, Yud, Hey, is really a higher name. But I don't think that's one of the names of God that's forbidden to erase. I'll have to look and see. In any case, God said, okay, this name that I'm going to be with you and I'm with you, you're right. Don't mention, give him another name with a Yud. A Yud means I'm constantly now with them. That's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob sent me. And this is my name for all. This is how you should remember me, mention me from every generation. And we're going to continue this, God willing, tomorrow. A lot of very interesting things. There's a huge, huge Even Ezra here, which is very unusual for the Even Ezra. Huge Even Ezra. And a beautiful Orach Chaim also. Anyway, so afterwards, here it says, God says, gather the Jews and tell them, here you go, you're going to go, I'm taking you out. Tell them these magic words, pakad pakadati. This is the words that were given to Yaakov. This is the sign. And I'll take you out of Egypt, land of Canaan, the Chiti, Amori, Perizi, Avuzi, Agushes, to the land that is flowing with milk and honey. And they will listen to what you say. And don't worry, you're going to go to Egypt. You're going to take them out 3 days in the desert. What does Moshe say? Moshe says, and I know that the king of Egypt is not going to let you go, but don't worry about me. I will smite them and I will take you out and I will give you grace in the name of the Jewish people. They'll all listen and everyone should prepare. They should take from the Egyptians and etc. And Moshe says, listen, they're not going to believe me. They're not. After God says all this, Moshe said, listen, they're not going to believe this. They're not going to listen to my voice. They're going to say that God didn't appear to you. They're not going to believe this whole story that I told you. And God said, what about this stone? He takes the staff, and this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow, the 3 signs. And after all, this is finished. This whole thing, he takes a staff, he turns it into a snake, he turns water into blood, he takes his hand. And after all, Moshe says, listen, God, I have a speech impediment. I can't go. I can't go. I'm not gonna go. And God finally says to him, and that's what we're learning in the Mimer in the morning, which we'll explain. God said, who gave people the ability to talk? Isn't it me? And that also didn't finally convince Moshe. And God finally says, okay, Aaron is going to come and he'll do the talking, which God willing we'll talk about tomorrow. Now let's do a little bit of the Mishnah. I hope we can get to the Mishnah today.